In 2025, Pennsylvania's housing market feels like it's been put on ice. Homes sit unsold for over 90 days. Inventories have surged by nearly 40%, and sellers are slashing prices by $30,000 or more just to get attention. Mortgage payments now eat up nearly half of household income, turning cheap houses into crushing financial traps. What looks affordable on paper is really a frozen housing market, where buyers risk sinking their money into places with no growth, no demand, and no escape. These are the 10 worst cities to buy a house in Pennsylvania. Number 10. York. York. Pennsylvania might look like a bargain hunter's dream in 2025, but behind the low price tags lies a financial minefield. The median home price hovers around $175,000, nearly 60% lower than the national median of $420,000. Sounds good, right? Not quite. The city's economy is sluggish, with unemployment sitting near 6.8%, well above the U.S. average of 4%. Jobs are scarce, mostly in low-paying sectors like retail and warehousing, leaving many residents stuck earning $48,000 to $50,000 a year, barely enough to cover rising costs. Property taxes add insult to injury, averaging $3,200 annually, which eats away at the so-called savings from cheaper houses. Mortgage affordability isn't much better. Even with prices low, higher interest rates push monthly payments on a modest York home toward $1,400 to $1,600, squeezing households already struggling with stagnant wages. Inventory tells another ugly story. Listings are up 35% year over year, and homes are sitting on the market for 70-plus days, signaling a buyer's market that may get even colder. Investors who thought they were scoring cheap deals are now facing homes that lose value while rental demand weakens. Median rents have slipped back toward $1,150, down 8% from the previous year, leaving landlords chasing tenants and slashing prices. York once thrived on its industrial backbone, but that backbone is cracked. With a weak job base, climbing taxes, and homes that look affordable but trap buyers in a stagnant market, York in 2025 is the classic housing mirage: cheap to enter, costly to escape. Number 9. Scranton. Scranton, once known as the Electric City, is now flickering under the weight of a fragile housing market in 2025. The median home price is around $165,000, which looks modest at first glance, but it hides a darker truth. The economy simply isn't strong enough to support even that. Scranton's unemployment rate remains stubbornly high at 7%, and many available jobs pay just $14 to $18 an hour, keeping median household income near $52,000. That's barely enough to service a mortgage at today's elevated rates, which can run $1,500 a month for even a modest 3-bedroom. Property taxes add more pain, averaging 2.3%, which translates into nearly $3,800 annually on a typical home. Add in insurance premiums climbing toward $1,500 a year, and Scranton homeowners quickly find themselves squeezed. Inventory is swelling. Active listings are up 42% year over year, and over 30% of sellers have slashed asking prices by $10,000 to $30,000 just to move stale properties. Buyers who thought they were getting deals in 2022 or 2023 are now sitting on homes worth 10% less than what they paid. The rental market isn't offering relief either. Median rents have slipped back toward $1,100, down from highs of $1,250, leaving investors with empty units and thinning returns. Combine this with a population that has been shrinking for years. Scranton's metro area has lost nearly 5,000 residents since 2020, and demand for housing looks fragile at best. Scranton's homes may look affordable, but the city's weak economy, heavy tax burden, and rising inventory make it a market where buyers risk walking straight into financial quicksand. Number 8. Scottdale. Scottdale, tucked into Westmoreland County, presents one of the starkest examples of a housing market that's cheap for a reason. The median home price sits near $140,000, among the lowest in the state. But buyers quickly learn why. Jobs are nearly non-existent. The town's unemployment sits at a troubling 7.5%, And with most work limited to small-scale retail or declining manufacturing, median household income barely crosses $46,000. That makes sustaining even modest mortgages a stretch. Monthly mortgage payments on a standard home now average $1,200 to $1,400. Not devastating on paper, but crushing when paired with low wages and higher borrowing costs. Taxes pile on, with Fayette and Westmoreland County homeowners shelling out between $2,800 and $3,200 annually in property taxes. Insurance costs are rising as well, leaving Scottdale families caught in a cost spiral despite their cheap houses. The bigger red flag is inventory. Scottdale has seen listings climb by 50% since 2023, a dramatic surge for such a small market. Homes sit unsold for months, and price cuts of $20,000 or more are increasingly common. Rental markets aren't healthy either. Median rents hover near $900 a month, but demand is weak as younger residents leave for Pittsburgh or out-of-state opportunities. Population decline is the town's Achilles heel. Scottdale has fewer than 4,300 residents, and it has been losing people for decades. Without new jobs, the tax base shrinks, schools strain, and home values stagnate. Investors see low entry costs but little chance of appreciation. In Scottdale, the story isn't just affordability. It's a housing market with no growth engine, no demand, and too many for sale signs gathering dust. Number 7. Emmaus. Emmaus, located in Lehigh County near Allentown, gives off a suburban charm, but in 2025, it's a dangerous place to park your money. Home prices average around $245,000, higher than struggling towns like Scranton or York, but the economics don't add up. Median household income is roughly $58,000, not nearly enough to comfortably cover mortgage payments that run $1,800 to $2,000 a month at today's rates. Taxes are a constant thorn. Lehigh County homeowners are paying property tax bills averaging $4,000 annually, and that's before factoring in utilities, insurance near $1,600, and rising maintenance costs. For many buyers, the supposed suburban lifestyle quickly becomes a financial burden. Inventory is swelling as well. Listings are up 30% year over year, and Emmaus homes are spending close to 75 days on the market before selling, a clear indicator of weakening demand. Sellers are slashing prices, often cutting $25,000 to $40,000, yet buyers remain hesitant. The job market is no savior. Emmaus is heavily dependent on nearby Allentown's service-based economy, which pays modest wages, while many higher-paying positions are out of reach without long commutes. The rental market mirrors the slowdown. Rents peaked near $1,600 in 2023, but have since slipped back toward $1,400, leaving landlords with squeezed returns. Younger families are increasingly skipping Emmaus in favor of more dynamic markets with better job growth and lower tax pressures. For buyers lured by Emmaus's charm, the reality hits fast. Higher than expected costs, limited income potential, and a housing market tilting toward oversupply. What looks like a stable suburban community is, in truth, a risky market propped up by fragile economics. Number 6. Harrisburg. Harrisburg, the state capital, should feel like an economic hub. Instead, in 2025, it's a market sliding into dangerous territory. The median home price sits around $210,000, seemingly affordable compared to national averages. But the local economy struggles to sustain even that. Median household income hovers near $56,000, barely covering a mortgage that now costs $1,700 to $1,900 a month, with interest rates factored in. Property taxes weigh heavily on Harrisburg residents, averaging nearly $3,600 annually, while city wage taxes chip away at paychecks. For many first-time buyers, the combined burden pushes housing costs past 40% of income, far above the affordability threshold. Inventory is ballooning. Listings are up 38% year over year, and homes linger for 80-plus days before selling. Sellers are slashing prices by $20,000 to $35,000, a clear sign of desperation in the market. Employment is another weakness. While Harrisburg hosts state government jobs, many are stagnant or capped in pay, leaving few opportunities for upward mobility. The private sector is sluggish, with most openings in low-wage retail or warehouse work. Population growth is flat, with younger workers leaving for stronger metro areas like Philadelphia or Baltimore. The rental market isn't stable either. Rents average $1,250, but vacancies are rising as tenants struggle with utility bills and taxes built into leases. Investors who jumped in during the pandemic boom are now seeing declining yields and dropping property values. In Harrisburg, the capital city glow hides a fragile reality: an oversupplied housing market, weak job growth, and costs that outpace incomes. What looks like stability is really a capital on the brink. Number 5. Bethlehem. Bethlehem has a storied history as a steel powerhouse, but in 2025, its housing market feels more like rust than revival. The median home price is around $240,000, higher than nearby Scranton or Allentown, but the wages don't back it up. Median household income sits at roughly $60,000, leaving families stretched thin when mortgage payments run $1,900 to $2,100 each month. Property taxes in Northampton County average $4,200 annually, adding to the pain, while insurance premiums creep toward $1,700 a year. Buyers who thought they were paying for stability now find themselves drained by hidden costs. Inventory has surged 32% since 2023, with homes sitting on the market for 70-plus days, while nearly 40% of listings see price reductions, often $25,000 or more. The local job market isn't strong enough to support housing growth. Bethlehem leans on tourism and Lehigh Valley's warehouse industry, neither of which provides high wages or long-term stability. Unemployment floats near 6%, and many residents commute long distances for better opportunities. That weak base undermines housing demand. Rentals mirror the slide. Average rents hover near $1,450, down from $1,600 highs, leaving landlords squeezed. Investors face falling cash flow just as property taxes and maintenance costs rise. Bethlehem markets itself as a revitalized steel town with historic charm, but the reality is harsher. Buyers face high carrying costs, flat wages, and a flood of inventory. In 2025, Bethlehem looks less like a safe bet and more like a housing market balancing on a knife's edge. Number 4. Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is often praised as one of America's most affordable big cities, but in 2025, affordability comes with a hidden catch: economic stagnation. The median home price is about $230,000, but don't let that fool you. The city's weak income base undermines the math. Median household income is roughly $58,000, while mortgage payments climb to $1,800 to $2,000 a month, straining budgets. Taxes are a constant problem. Allegheny County homeowners pay an average of $4,100 annually in property taxes, while city wage taxes take another slice of paychecks. Insurance costs creep above $1,600 per year, leaving families with little breathing room. Inventory is swelling. Active listings are up 40% year over year, and homes sit on the market for 90 days or more before selling. Price cuts are rampant, with reductions of $20,000 to $50,000 becoming standard. Employment is Pittsburgh's Achilles heel. The city once thrived on steel, but its replacement industries, healthcare, education, and tech, don't pay nearly enough to offset costs. Job growth is stagnant, unemployment hovers near 6%, and younger residents continue fleeing to faster-growing metros. Population decline, estimated at -4,000 since 2020, further saps housing demand. The rental market isn't healthier. Median rents average $1,350, down from $1,500 highs, leaving investors with thinning returns and more vacant units. Oversupply is becoming a problem as developers who built luxury rentals now struggle to fill them. Pittsburgh may look cheap compared to New York or DC, but beneath the surface lies a housing market drowning in weak job growth, rising taxes, and declining demand. Buyers here risk stepping into a slow-burning financial trap. Number 3. Hughesville. Hughesville, a small town in Lycoming County, seems like a hidden gem on the surface. Quiet streets, affordable homes, and a slower pace of life. But in 2025, it's one of the worst traps for buyers. The median home price sits at a tempting $145,000, yet the job market is practically non-existent. With fewer than 2,000 residents, Hughesville simply lacks the economic engine to sustain demand. Median household income hovers near $47,000, and with interest rates high, even a modest mortgage still costs $1,200 to $1,400 per month. A crushing ratio for local wages. Taxes make matters worse. Property taxes average around $2,900 annually, which doesn't sound catastrophic until you realize it eats more than 6% of median income before insurance, utilities, or maintenance are even counted. Inventory has surged. Listings are up 45% year over year, with homes sitting for 100-plus days unsold. Price cuts of $15,000 to $25,000 are standard, signaling a market gasping for buyers. Jobs are Hughesville's greatest weakness. Employment options are limited to scattered service roles or small-scale industry, and unemployment hovers above 7%. Young families continue leaving for Williamsport or bigger metros, leaving behind an aging population with limited buying power. Rentals are equally bleak, with median rents stuck near $850, offering little incentive for investors. In Hughesville, affordability is an illusion. Buyers inherit a stagnant local economy, shrinking demand, and properties that may never appreciate. What looks like a safe small-town purchase is in reality a housing market running on empty. Number 2. Wilkes-Barre. Wilkes-Barre, long overshadowed by its economic struggles, is now a danger zone for buyers in 2025. The median home price sits near $170,000, but the local economy simply can't support stable growth. Median household income is barely $51,000, while mortgage payments have climbed to $1,500 to $1,700 per month. That means housing alone consumes 35% or more of local income, a red flag for affordability. Property taxes sting hard in Luzerne County, averaging $3,400 annually, with insurance adding another $1,500. Sellers face growing pressure as inventory skyrockets. Listings are up 40% year over year, and homes sit unsold for nearly 90 days. Nearly half of sellers are cutting asking prices by $20,000 to $30,000 just to lure buyers. The job market provides little relief. Unemployment stands at 7.2%, and most jobs are in low-paying sectors like retail, logistics, or call centers. Younger professionals continue leaving for Philadelphia or New York, creating a steady population drain. Since 2020, Wilkes-Barre's metro has lost over 6,000 residents, further undercutting housing demand. Investors who jumped in during the pandemic now face slumping rents. Median rents peaked at $1,250 but have fallen closer to $1,100, while vacancies creep higher. Landlords face thinning margins as property taxes rise and demand softens. Wilkes-Barre's housing market may look accessible, but beneath the surface it's collapsing under stagnant wages, high taxes, and an exodus of younger buyers. For anyone considering a purchase here, the risks far outweigh the bargain. Number 1. Philadelphia Metro. At the top of the list sits the Philadelphia Metro, a housing market in 2025 that is downright hostile to buyers. Median home prices hover around $295,000, higher than most Pennsylvania cities, yet the region's weak fundamentals make ownership a nightmare. Median household income sits at $62,000, but mortgage payments now eat up $2,100 to $2,300 a month, nearly half the average paycheck. Taxes are suffocating. Philadelphia's property tax bills may look modest on paper, averaging 1.5%, but combined with the city's 3.8% wage tax, homeowners are hit from every angle. Add in insurance premiums pushing $1,900 annually, and the cost of carrying a modest home becomes crushing. Inventory tells a grim story. Active listings are up 36% year over year, and homes languish for 95 days or more before selling. Price reductions of $30,000 to $50,000 are becoming common, but buyers remain hesitant. Meanwhile, crime rates and declining schools drive families to the suburbs, hollowing out demand inside the city. The broader economy doesn't save the market. Unemployment sits near 6.5%, and many jobs are concentrated in modest-paying service industries. Population growth is flat, with outmigration accelerating to neighboring states like Delaware and New Jersey. Investors are retreating as rents stagnate around $1,600, down from $1,800 peaks, leaving rental units vacant. Philadelphia Metro is the perfect storm. High costs, weak job growth, tax burdens, and rising inventory. For 2025, it's not just the worst city in Pennsylvania to buy a home. It's a housing market that looks dangerously close to implosion.